Hello everyone. In the last video we talked about the multiple training approaches like SFT, DPO, PPO and GRPO, the multiple extensions like shift answers, which is a training format, and the GGF, which is the train model format, which we upload on the Hugging Face. Hugging Face is nothing but a GitHub repo kind of for the models, and SFT stands for supervised fine tuning, DPO stands for direct preferences optimization, PPO is from proximal policy optimization, and GRPO is group relative policy optimization. So if you and just to revise quickly, DPO is SFT is a fact, DPO sets the style, PPO used by PPO is for reinforcement learning, which is used by OpenAI, and GRPO is used by DeepSeek. PPO uses three models: reward, critic, and actor, while the GRP uses only reward and actor model. So for more details you can see the previous videos on my profile. And so today we are going to talk about RAG. So what is RAG? So RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. So in an earlier demo, when I asked my fine-tuned robot about the current events, and it gave me all the outdated information even though I have changed the system prompts. And why? Because the fine-tuning bakes the fact into the model weights and training time. But even though if I change the system prompt and everything, still it does not give the correct current year information, because all the models are trained with the they are trained, like in our case we are using llama. So it is trained like maybe or 2024 or maybe before. So this is kind of security guardrails, like they cannot predict the future. So how we solve this problem? Like you can have the current year information, especially when you are creating a robot for your kids. They should know, your robot should know the current year information. So today we are going to solve this problem using RAG. So first thing, what I have done is, like, I have created a data set. I have created a data set for multiple categories like science, story, mythology, social science, story. I used Anthropic to create some of those questions, validate, and I have downloaded that. So I'll show you here. So this is the data set which I have created under multiple categories like science and history, and some of the current year information like FIFA World Cup and the NASA Mars rover. All those information which I have created. So let's so what is RAG? As I mentioned, it's a retrieval augmented generation. So how it works, it basically takes the data, and whatever the data I showed you, dump into the data vector database. Why vector? Because vector database does not work like the typical database where we are using actual keyword search. Vector database convert this into the numbers and store those numbers into the database. Like I'll how it I'll show you here. So Python 3 inspect. So when I say gravity is an invisible. So how it will store in the database is, it will store this as in numbers. So, and that is called the embeddings, when we are converting into in vectors and storing into the database, so that is called vector database. And today, in the today's demo, I'm going to use ChromaDB, which is open source. You can use it on local. Now, who is going to take care of this part to convert your data set into embeddings? There are certain models which we use. So in today's demo, I'm going to use two models. Why two models? I'll show you. So there are certain problems with the models, and nano. So first step is like build the RAG using the models, using those models which can convert your data set into embeddings and store into the vector database. So the first model is nomic embed text. I am using this nomic model, going to use that data set which I showed you, store into database. So when I run it, Python 3 build nomic. So here it is. So it will just take all the data set which I showed you, and there are only 25 questions I have created. So it will store them as an embedding which I showed you before, and it is saved. Now the next thing is to test. Now let me open the test retrieval nomic. Again same thing, I'm using same model to use and couple of questions, what is gravity and all those questions. So let me run test retrieval nomic. So here it is. So what is gravity? Gravity is invisible force. If you see, this is the numbers. So every embedding models use different format of numbers. So some of them keeping between 0 to 1, some of them store in 100. So in this case nomic is using 215, which is a good number, and while the 409 is a very big gap, and that's why this is the wrong answer. Now the second question is, tell me about Ramayana. Ramayana is basically a Hindu mythological epic. So in that case the answer is, the distance is 373, which is a big gap, and that's why the answer is wrong. So that's why the nomic in this case is not the right approach to select for embedding, because that model does not have the information about multiple cultures, in this case the Indian mythology. So the next model which I have chosen for embedding called uh, build rag mxbai. So I'm using this, using the same data set, uh, um, storing inside this, and I'm going to use this model, embedding model, to save that into database. And once I have done that, and if I now run python 3 max ai, so here it is. Now as you can see, the nomic was storing as a 215, while the mxbi using 0.3, like their highest is, lowest is 0 and the biggest is 1. So 0.3 is a good number, so that's why this is the right answer, while the 0.9 is a very big gap, that's why it's not the right answer. Now the same thing about, tell me about Ramayana. So Ramayana is an ancient Hindu epic, which is the right answer, and the gap is also good. This, while the Mahabharata is another epic, but not the correct answer for epic, and that's why the gap is big, that's why it's the wrong answer. Now once we have created the rag, that means once we have stored the database, the next thing is to run the pipelines. So when I say python 3 rag pipeline no fallback. So what do you mean? What I mean is, like, as I mentioned in my previous demo, that the important thing is like to data validation. So there are a lot of times the models are giving the wrong information, but with the confidence, that is called hallucination, that we are getting the wrong information, but the way the model is presenting that information with so much confidence that we are started thinking that's the right answer. So today I'm going to show the same thing. So as some of the questions are like, what is gravity, that is good, it gives you the right answer, which is good gap. This is the too much gap, so this is the wrong answer. The next thing is, who is hosting the FIFA World Cup. This is the current year information, so that is another use case. Like earlier when I trained my models, even with the current year information, I was not able to get the current year information, or again I have to train the models regularly. This problem can easily be solved by rag. So here it is, if you see, let's find out the FIFA World Cup. uh, so here it is, United States, Mexico, Canada, there are three countries which are hosting, which is the right answer. Okay. What is NASA doing on Mars right now? So all those things. So as I was mentioning, rag actually solve this problem, like we don't need to train the model all the time, we can just get the information, put into our ChromaDB or any. So if you are going to use AWS, you can use open search, and then you can use rag systems to retrieve those data, and your model can generate those answers based on the based on your embeddings. Now the next question is, how do fish breathe? So both the answers are too weak for fish breathe underwater. Too weak. 0.9 is a big gap, and 1 point, but again the model is giving the answer which is the wrong answer, but again you can see it's a too weak both the answer, but again the model is giving the answer which is like called hallucination, wrong answer with the confidence. So how we are going to solve this is with fallback in I mean to say, like, if the model does not know the answer, it should just say I don't know that answer. So that's the fallback, that's the right fallback, that so that it should not provide the wrong information to the end user. So that's what we are going to test. So here I am, now I'm going to using the this uh, with fallback approach, and now the answers are pretty neat. And to generate those answers, I am using same model which I have created in the previous demo using the grpo on the llama grpo. And what is so hosting, so here it is. So here it is. So how do fish breathe underwater? Both the answers are wrong, that means it does not have that information. So it says like I don't have the information, which is the right thing, that any model which, if the model does not have the information, it should not hallucinate and give the wrong answer. So that's what we are, this is the fallback approach, like if you don't know, just say it. Now to integrate that with my python 3 voice pipeline, who is hosting FIFA World Cup 2026?
Stadium, the United States, Mexico, Mexico, and Canada, Canada are all co-hosting the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Party Popper, this is a very
Okay, so this is how we have the current year information host getting with our the model. Now the next question is, how about the next tomorrow's information, how the model will be updated with the next day's information or the after. So every time I have to go back and update the data set, or is there any other solution? That's what we are going to talk about in the next video, that how can we uh, inject the pipeline of the current year current information into our robot, so that we can avoid this every time creating the data set and it should be automatic flow that so that's what we are going to talk about tomorrow. Thank you.